So we can start now, or
So, very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and a very, very warm welcome to all of you for joining us today for Good Week 2026 Southeast Asia edition, where we talk about enabling reliable, round the clock energy for Southeast Asia's CNI with solar plus storage, and proudly presented by GoodWe. I am Geeta, and I'll be hosting your session for today. As Southeast Asia accelerates its clean energy transition, we are entering a new phase of adoption where solar is no longer just about generation, but about reliability, cost optimization, and round the clock power. From the CNI sector, the key question today is no longer why solar, but how do we make it work 24 by 7? And that's exactly what today's session is designed to address, bringing together the very industry leaders, real world insights, and practical solutions to help businesses move from a standalone solar to integrated solar plus storage systems. So, to set the context, let's begin with the perspective from our presenting partner. It is my pleasure to invite Mr. Kim Se Leang, Country Manager Malaysia, GoodWe, to share insights on GoodWe's vision and its role in enabling sustainable and reliable energy solutions across the region. Mr. Kim, the virtual stage is all yours.
yeah. Thanks, Kita, for the presentations. Okay, so basically, good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Kim our great pleasures to be here today. So I'm Kim. I'm the country manager of GoodWe Malaysia. So basically, I think before we start the product introductions, we would like to share our GoodWe company's profile. All right. So basically, in GoodWe, our vision is driving the smart energy future, and our mission is we are determined to become a major driving force in the global energy transitions, building a sustainable future. So in the GoodWe Story journey, we established our company in 2010, and we launched our first PV inverter in 2011. So basically, we have more than 50 years plus experience in the solar industry. In 2014, we launched our first hybrid inverters in Asia. And in 2015, we launched our Australia company in 2015. And in 2018, we launched our first Europe HQ in Germany. In 2019, we are the #1 hybrid inverters and recognized by Good Magazine. And in 2020, we are the listed company in China. So basically, we are listed in Shanghai Stock Exchange. And then in 2022, we expand our business from the residential to CNI and utility sectors. And in 2024, we launched our heat pump factory, and this is our final piece of the smart energy ecosystem. So basically, in GoodWe, we are the one-stop solutions. We are the smart energy integrations of the generations, grid, root, storage, and intelligence. So basically, this is our GoodWe HQ. So our GoodWe HQ is based in Suzhou, China, right? And then we are using our products called BIPV. So this BIPV is integrated by our HQ building structure. So basically, this is a cert that we achieve and recognized by the global. And this is our business map in global. So basically, our manufacturing plants, 3 in China, 1 is in Vietnam, and the rest will be our subsidiaries company. So we have the Australia, Germany, UK, Japan, Singapore, Vietnam, UAE, and those. So basically, this is our GoodWe families. So we have more than 6,000 plus of the employees in global. So among of them, we have 300 plus for the overseas employees, including like sales, solutions, and pre-sales. So in terms of the R&D, we have more than 1,000 plus of R&D staff. So every year we spend more than 8% of our revenues invested in the R&D departments. So our company is very focused on the R&D investment. And our R&D center, yeah, FICE is based in China. So Suzhou, Shenzhen, Wuhan, Nanjing, and Shunde, right? And then in our GoodWe, we are the tier one brands recognized by the S&P Global, and we also recognized by the Bloomberg. We are the tier one brands in the solar market. So for the manufacturing plant and the installation capacity, so basically our manufacturing plant, three in China, one's in Vietnam. And our yearly production capacity, we can produce more than 35 gigawatt per year and 5 gigawatt hours for the battery productions, right? And in this is our GoodWe product portfolio. So as I mentioned just now, we have all-in-one solutions. So basically, we have the residential inverters and CNI and tier utility scale inverters as well. And then this is our monitoring platforms called SCMS. So the full name is called Smart Energy Management Systems. This is to monitoring our devices. And we also have our hybrid solutions called hybrid inverters and the batteries for in terms of the residential, CNI, and utility scale. All right. So we also have our EV chargers, heat pumps, and BIPV. So basically in GoodWe, we are more focusing on the one-stop solutions. So as you can see, this is our flow of the solutions. So in terms of the generations, grid, road, storage, and intelligence. So in terms of the generations, you can see we have the inverters and BIPV. And for the grid side, we can do the grid formings and microgrid. And for the road side, we can do the heat pumps, EV chargers, integrate to our systems, and storage, we do have our own PCS, battery, and also for the ESS, for the utility scale and CNI. And we also have our own intelligence platforms. We can integrate to the SCMS and V platforms and using our AI, latest AI technologies. So in GoodWe is our full product of the solutions. All right. So basically, I think this is a company profile today. So I would like to pass back to Gita and we will continue for the next agenda today. All right. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kim, for that very insightful overview and for setting the tone for today's discussions. Now, to understand the broader market landscape, we move to a knowledge session. It is our honor to welcome Dr. Alan Wang, Vice President and Head of Asia Pacific Power and Renewable Research from Wood Mackenzie, who will share key insights on SEA CNI solar storage market, the trends and opportunities of 2026. Over to you, Dr. Wang.
Thank you. Thank you, Gita, for the introduction. And hello, everyone. Welcome to this knowledge sharing. My name is Alan, as Gita introduced. I'm heading the Asia Pacific Power and Renewable Research. And thank you again for Kim to showcase the global footprint for GoodWe. And I'm very happy to see our name over there because in WUMAC, we introduce all the cutting edge knowledge base and also analysis of the market. And today I'm going to zoom into ASEAN market, CNI sector, to look into the policy trend, the tariff trend, and also the project size intelligence, what we observed on the market. So first of all, I want to look into this page together with you guys. This is the policy summary for all the major market in ASEAN region. So as we can see here, we do see some strong mandates to emerging some regulations. I asked the team to highlight different colors, like when we see the policy came out in the last 3 years. As you can see, we do see some new policy just came out in 2026 in those markets. It's actually a few markets like Malaysia, Thailand, and Singapore, we do see some strong policy sentences. So where in Malaysia, for example, we can see 100% capital cost claims through the GITA program, and the Thailand, we see over 100. It's actually 150 tax week deduction. That's a very strong policy support, right? And in Singapore, for example, we see a full waves of the grid charge entirely if you install storage with the ramp up or ramp rate control. So those are the very strong policy support we observe in the ASEAN market, which gives some certainties to the project development. And the second tier or second group of the countries, I would say that would be Philippines and Indonesia. So if you look into the table, you will see in Philippines, they offer about 20 years fixed tariffs through the GA, Green Energy Auction. So the most future round planned is GA7. We know they have done GA1, 2, 3, 4, and the GA5 is coming. So that will make, because of the fixed long-term tariff, will make it bankable for most of these projects. That's some positive signs we have seen on the market. And Vietnam, we haven't seen recent policy update. The latest one was 2025. It's from the decree number 57 and 58. But those just provide a policy framework. There are still some regulatory clarity we're still waiting to see from the government or from the policymaker. But the addressable market is quite big in Vietnam. Later, I can show you the total installed capacity in Vietnam over now. But right now, it's like a signpost. We have to keep watching and how is the policy shifting. So from near-term development, focus will be more on those three policy strong support market. And for longer term, we do see opportunities in Indonesia, Vietnam, in those markets. So that's purely from policy level. The reason I start from policy is that when we look into different market research, APAC or ASEAN developing countries, policy is always the main driver to make some changes. So it's always the biggest driver we look into. The second thing I prepared today to share with everyone is the commercial tariff. This is, you can see historical, current level, and next 10 years forecast from Wood Mackenzie. And I think everyone familiar with the current tariff structure and the tariff level. You will see Philippines has the highest commercial tariff right now. But the good thing is in our forecast from now to 2035 is quite stable through this period. And again, the second highest is Singapore. But the difference is that we do see a upper trend for Singapore tariff is going to be higher in the next 10 years. But again, I would like to highlight one thing. Just for today, we are still in the middle of analysis the impact from the Middle East conflict, right? So all the countries, a majority, in this region, still facing some raising commodity price, especially for countries need to import LNG. So those numbers I show you today is actually coming from the pre-conflict scenario, and after conflict, we're still assessing. And another thing for Singapore is among all the ASEAN countries, Singapore still already have quite high carbon price. So this carbon price will be passed down to the tariff. So that's something we have to consider. And the next group of strong growth potential or strong growth market we do see, which is Indonesia and Vietnam. So if you look into the IOPTL last year, in the next 10 years, PLN already put a plan to raise the tariff 40 to 50%. It's already put in the IOPTL. So that will be a very big change. And on top of that, because of the removal of net metering, high tariff and no net metering, that will create some incentive and willingness for the behind meter CNI players to install solar plus battery. And on the other hand, if you look into Malaysia, for example, it's still a lowest cost market. So that's why the policy mandates in Malaysia and some tax incentives will be very important to incentivize the owners to consider the behind meter solutions. So this is the things or the angle we look into the tariff level. Of course, if the tariff is high, they'll ideally create some willingness for the owners to consider, shall I have this solution to install on site to help me to offset some of my electricity bill. The next page I prepared today to share with everyone is actually the storage adoption acceleration. So this is the mix of solar and storage for CNI sector behind meter, the trend in the last 10 years. As we can see here, before 2023, the storage addition is quite small and stable. The reason is by that time, number one, the supply chain cost is high. The technology is not ready, supply chain is high, and also by that time, net metering everywhere, or most of the countries. That's the reason is even we have excess power, we can flow back, and quite a few countries, we have good FIT rates, right? So that's the reason at that time, between that period, we didn't see like a very strong pickup of the storage additions, especially associated with solar behind meter. And then the market fundamentals start to change. Indonesia consider or remove net metering in 2024. That creates some of the changes. And also Vietnam cap at 20% and then 50% to control the flow back to the grid, just for consideration of the grid stability, right? So this will, or is already incentivize some of the storage installation. So that's why you can see the ramp up of the storage. By 2025, from our data, from our database, we see the integration rate jump to about 15 to 20% of the new projects, the new build projects. That's the rate, how much of them will consider with the storage. And we do see, as I mentioned in the previous page, there's some policy mandates. For example, Malaysia's SELCO mandate. So for any of the large size solar projects, you have to install battery. So those putting together give us this kind of a historical trend to showcase clearly the trend of the past 10 years, how storage pick up, how we see the integration rate jump out. The next one is about the size on the project. Later on, maybe in the panel discussion, we can discuss more on this, but clearly we can see 3 different stages. For now, recently we start to see 1 to 5 megawatt as the optimal project size. In the early stage, the whole market was dominant, and it's very common to see the rooftop solutions, right? Roughly the smaller size because of the building roof area is limited, 100 to 500 kilowatt. That will be the normal size at that time. And also that at that time, we have FIT incentives, for example, in Vietnam, right? Rooftop at that time. And then after that, we start to see the net metering constraint and also the high tariff. We start to see the solutions from 1 to 5 megawatt of the demand. So the CNI customers try to match their consumption and increase the size. And also, for example, Malaysia allow ground mounting on ground and the floating solar on site. This creates additional, site availability for those behind meter customers to increase their system size. And another thing we do see is, for example, for Thailand, the tax benefit apply from 20 kilowatt up to 5 megawatt. So this will create some incentives to go through like a bigger system. And then if any of the system larger than 5 megawatt in some of the market, you need some grid approval, additional transmission study, and integration study. So that creates some of the difficulties to move forward of these projects. And then most of the projects around 1 megawatt should be the minimum bankable size. This is not only a special thing for ASEAN market. If you look into Australian market, there is a category called sub 5. That's capped at 5 megawatt as well. So below that size, you have largely reduced the regulation requirement and make it easy to implement. And then the next page, we're showing our Wood Mackenzie forecast of the capacity behind meter solar and storage. So you will see a lot of the growth will concentrate in Malaysia, Indonesia, and Philippines in the next 10 years. So those 3 countries will take about 70% of the growth, in total 4 gigawatt. And then, of course, if you look into the current level, Vietnam is already the largest market, 7.7 gigawatt in 2025. And then because of the early FIT booming. So this is the reason why. And then also from the policy support level, we can clearly see in the PDPA revision, in PDP 8 and 8 revision, the government or EVN still emphasize the importance of the behind meter. So we do see, still growing in that market. And Malaysia, of course, very fast growth story from 1.9 gigawatt to nearly 10 gigawatt. So there are policy support, as I mentioned earlier, there are SELCO, ATAP, all these policies will support this kind of a growth, right? And then a few other countries, as I mentioned earlier, Philippines, we do see some strong growth. GA7, if they offer a very generous fixed tariff, of course, that will increase the bankable pipeline in those markets. Indonesia, again, we do see strong growth, even, blending with the very, very ambitious target in IOPTL. So those could be the upward potential for this market to achieve this kind of growth. On the right-hand side, you will see the story of the storage system. So again, 70% of the storage opportunity will concentrate in Malaysia, Indonesia, and Philippines. So this will be some of the existing trend we have already observed on the market and could happen again in the next few years. Just to quickly give you a quick summary on my presentation today. Number one is that we do see a very strong growth potential for CNI solar capacity. So likely in next 10 years, the overall size of the ASEAN market will grow from 15 gigawatt to about 42. So we see very strong growth story. You can see even we break down to countries, all the countries we see different level of growth potential. And the second thing, as I mentioned, when policy, when we talk about APAC, policy is always the key driver. So that's why we start from policy today. So all the policy across the ASEAN countries will require a storage integration that can further support the storage deployment or integration in the region. And lastly, net metering or the export restriction, we're already seeing it. So that kind of a policy will incentivize and further support the customers to consider and deploy the battery plus storage systems. Okay, consider the time. This is all I prepared for today. I believe later in the panel discussion, we can deep dive into some of the points in more details. And for now, I just hand over back to Gita to continue our knowledge sharing.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wang, for those very, very valuable insights and clearly outlining where the market is headed. Thank you so much for your time. Next, ladies and gentlemen, moving from market insights to technology. Let's now explore how these solutions are being implemented. So I invite Mr. Jeffrey Zinn, Senior Solution Engineer, GoodWe, to walk us through GoodWe's latest innovations and customized solutions designed to enable efficient and reliable energy systems. Over to you, Mr. Zinn. The stage is all yours.
Okay, thank you, Gina, for the introduction. So, good morning and maybe afternoon, I think. I'm Jeffrey, just the solution engineer manager in charge of all the APAC region from Solar Academy of GoodWe company. So today I will sharing maybe the products, the whole products, the catalog from maybe residential to the CNI and even maybe some the utility, the products for the on-grid one or the storage one. So because I think maybe today's topic is mainly focused on maybe the CNI, but for the GoodWe's company, I think we have the full range of the power capacity, not only in the CNI, but also some of the residential products. And maybe after our meeting, you can maybe find some the cooperation together with our CEO or the solution engineer and to find the proper the products or some of the solutions that what you want. So yes, next we will go on the details of our products and also the solution. So I think maybe today's we focused morely about our CNI, but for the residential, we can just look over briefly about our products. That maybe because I think GoodWe have very strengths and also the confidence in understanding and also maybe for the design and the products in the storage one and the on-grid one. So for the residential solution, here is a picture showed all our the families, the products resident for the household use. You can see including the batteries and residential, the hybrid or on-grid inverters, and also the all-in-one solutions. For the whole system or the products we can provide in the Southeast and also South Asian countries, and I think regarding to the different requirements for the different countries, so you can always find the proper products or the solutions according to the residential the catalogs. Okay, for the on-grid one, I think from maybe several years ago, we have our own residential on-grid the inverters for the residential use, from maybe several hundreds watts to the maybe 30 kilos watts of the power capacity. But I think maybe roughly we just divide for the residential from the residential to the CNI, maybe just around the 30 kilos. But I think in some other countries, that maybe under 50 kilos, they can also consider for the residential. Yeah, but that just depends on the different policy or the different the introduction about our the residential or the CNI. Okay, for the on-grid one, I think maybe we can cover the full the use scenario for the single phase or the three-phase one, and also for our the hybrid one, we have our own the product. For example, our the single phase hybrid we call the ES Unique that can cover from 3 kilos to 12 kilos. I think also you can also do some of the pipeline to do some of the extension about our the single phase the hybrid solution. Okay, for the three-phase one, we have also our related our the inverters for our together with our the low voltage battery, because we think in the Asian countries, maybe the low voltage battery, the solutions together with a hybrid inverter is better than some of the high voltage one, because I think a low voltage one will provide some of the lower price and also the safer the solutions or some of the package of the battery, and is more suitable for install inside the room. So together with the features, so the inverters, for example, we can provide more the current from the battery. So that means you can do more the off-grid output together with some of the backup port. And if the grid is outage, our inverters together with our battery can provide more about the power compared with the rated one. Okay, for the three-phase one, also I think we the same the features or the highlights together with our single phase one. So you can also do some of the pipeline to consist of the hundreds of the power capacity together with maybe at up to maybe several hundreds of kilowatts hour the battery to get using for the big house or some of the small the CNI scenario for that. Okay. Also, as last, I think maybe in some the developed countries, for example, in European and also Australia, also in some Southeast Asian countries, we can also provide our all-in-one solutions, just like maybe together with a battery and the inverter together, and also you can stack by our battery for the stack door, the tower for like that. I think maybe later for the future, later years, I think the all-in-one solution will be another tendency for our residential yield. So don't hesitate to ask about our solution for the all-in-one, because GoodWe have very the deep understanding about the Trinity and also the residential using for our the storage one or the on-grid one. Okay. Yes, above all is all of the residential. So maybe next is our the mainly the point for this webinar. I think for the CNI solutions, also we have a very range from maybe the 50 kilos to the several hundreds the kilos. You can always find some of the related the solutions about the on-grid or the storage one. So here the pictures we showed that also our products catalog includes the hybrid one, also the on-grid one, together with the PCS and the batteries. Okay, I think for the CNI on-grid, I think maybe in the Southeast Asian countries nowadays they are still maybe is most of the CNI on-grid marketing, right? But I think in the future, maybe just as the Dr. Allen said, right, they will try to tend to some of the storage one and maybe just convey from just add some of the battery together with the already installation the on-grid solutions. So for the on-grid one, here we just also some of the brief introduction about that. As you can see from the 50 kilos to 150 kilos, that is all of our CNI the scenario current for using in the on-grid inverters. But I think maybe in the Southeast Asians, I think maybe the 100 to 125 is the most popular using in some of the rooftop of the factories or some of the CNI the scenario. So for this one, we have also launched, I think, almost 1 year, and also the cooperation and the using the performance is very stable, and then you can just take easy to use it about 4 hours on-grid the rooftop one. And also by together with our on-grid, we have also our own storage or some of the hybrid inverters. Now we have ever launched them maybe also almost 1 year about the 50 kilowatts of the hybrid one and our battery. So as you can see, for our hybrid one, we can provide at up to only 4 milliseconds of the switch time from on-grid to the off-grid output. I think for most of the loads using the factory, maybe for the monitoring and also some of the sensitive loads consumption about the factory, 4 millisecond switching can cover all the continuous power supply requirements for the factory. And also, yeah, because I think the very important the point is safety. So 1.0 discharging is the perfect rate for the CNI use, because even you use some of the higher rates for the charging or discharging, that the thermal will be higher also, right? I think we should to guarantee the biggest the rate of the charging. Also, we should consider the protection or the level of the fire risk and also others, right? But above all is all of the maybe some the hybrid one that have already launched in the South Asian countries or the South Asian country. That's but also our battery, would we have our own battery, maybe using the tier 1 the battery cell together with the BMS system, and we will produce our own battery the stack or the battery the cabinet for using for the CNI scenario. Okay, for our battery, I think also we just, for example, we use maybe the IEPT and also other tier 1 brand to do the cabinet of the battery package. Also together with some the extinguisher and aerosol for the optical selection about the orders or some together with our hybrid one. And it is similar like the all-in-one solution, because for the battery cabinet, you can also hang on the inverters beside the cabinet and just using some the seek like the CNI or the all-in-one solution for the CNI use. Okay. Yes. Next is the new product that we have just launched this year. Yeah, that is our double power capacity that our 50 kilowatts, that is 100 kilowatts for the hybrid one. Okay, this one also we can provide our 4 millisecond switching time from the on-grid to the off-grid, but that will not only provide the double the capacity of the output of the rated power, for example, the 100 kilowatts, but also they can provide more about the battery connection, the units. For example, this cabinet, this inverter has 2 independent the battery input, so that means you can connect the 2 parallel of the battery the units. Each input you can connect up to 4 units of the battery component. So totally the number of for each ET 100 kilo, so you can connect 8 units of the component. That means for the single inverter, you can connect 800 kilowatts hour with the battery, and also the inverters can support maybe the parallel. So for this one, you can do more about the 1 megawatts. 1 megawatts of the inverters, and together with maybe around the 3 megawatts hour of the battery. Okay, I think for some of the features or the highlights about the new products that here we just show some the very significant the points about the output or the input. For example, from the DC side, we can provide at a maximum for the 200% of the oversizing. That means you can connect more the DC, the input from the PV panel, and I think for this 200, that will be no wasted for our output, because that 200 can use to be full the output and together with the battery charging. For example, maybe 100% can use it for some of the consumption or maybe output for the grid, and another 100% can use it for the charging. That means no power waste from the PV panels. Okay, from the AC side here also list some of the highlights. For example, as I have said before, that the two independent battery, the inputs, that means we can provide the higher the overload, the capacity for that. For example, if we connect maybe some the inductive the load or consumption from the AC side, that because when they start up, that will need the higher the power or the higher the current from for the startup. But after maybe second, that we are down to the rated power. So for our inverters, we can provide 10 seconds of the 150 overloading for the off-grid output. So that means if you connect some the air conditioner or some other the inductive consumption, that our inverters can easily to support for the startup of the inductive one. And the last is that the unbalanced load. That means maybe each phase you can connect or with a different kind of the consumption. And for our inverters or from the grid consumption, that will have very some difference between the different phase. So for our inverters, we can also provide maybe some of the unbalanced the output from the three-phase one. Yeah. Okay, compared with some of the other inverters, I think maybe their other brands may just could provide this 150% of the oversizing, and also there the oversizing will be wasted because that the output must be consists of the consumption and the battery charging. So even they connect maybe 150 or maybe up to 200%, that the output must be consists of the two parts. The one part is consumption, another part is charging. But for the inverters, that you don't worry about some of the power waste, because we can divide it into the two parts of the output or the charging independently. For example, if you use the 100 kilowatts of the inverters but connect 200 kilowatts of the panel, so maybe 100 using for the consumption and another 100 using for the battery charging. So compared with the traditional, in other words, I think we'll just reduce some of the cost of the PV panel, and we'll provide more benefits for some of the recycling, right? Okay, for the unbalanced output, I just said before, because this one, if you can provide unbalanced output, that will more adapted to about the different kind of the grids, the output, or some of the charging about that. So because in the factory, you cannot guarantee all the phases are maybe the equally, and you can maybe just have a very tiny difference. But if your inverters cannot support unbalanced output, that will do output for some of the average of the minimum of the each phase one. So if you can support unbalanced, that maybe for the sum of the whole of the each phase, that could equal to the rated power. But for the different phase, you can do the different the output or the different the charging of the power, just like that. Okay, some other features, for example, I think now maybe all the brand of the inverters can maybe just have improved the fan, the design, and also the fan, the performance about the noise. But for our inverters, you can also we have also do some of the soft button in our application or the website, just to switch on for some of the fan reversal mode. this fan reverser using mode using for some reduction about the dust and just help to reduce some just help to reduce help the cleaning about the fan and to I think improve some the lifetime of the whole system as a whole inverters and also the device, right? And I think the most important for the CNI use, I think together the same as our the residential, because from last year, GoodWe will focus more about our the noise level control. So for our the residential, we can guarantee that even they have installed inside the room or in the bedroom or the kitchen, that the noise can hardly to listen by our the ears and also some our the human beings. Also, same as our CNI, we can provide maybe less the noise level compared with some others. I think for the 60 dB is more suitable for our school and the hospital using for that because when we talk about with each other, the noise, the level will reach to maybe 80 or maybe 70 around 75 around the dBs, right? But if we using some the 60 dB that we are less than some the voice, the sound of the voice about you talking about with some others, so that is more suitable for some the scenario, but that need some of the quiet the surroundings, right? Okay, also here some of the other the general the features. For example, we can also provide some of the optional selection about the AFCI function and also the terminal, the over temperature, the production of the each the connectors about the PV panel, and also some our the basic protection in our the inverters. And also we have get some the report certification about the safety and the production method in our the TUV and also some of the IEC standard. So if our customer want to get this certification, we can also provide them. Yeah. Okay, maybe later in this year, maybe the second half of this year, we will also provide our the new product. For example, now our the biggest hybrid one is 100. So maybe later we will also launch our the 125 kilowatts for the hybrid one. Then that is will be the biggest one of the hybrid, and you can also connect more about the batteries together with our inverters and consist very the bigger the size or some the large scale of the rooftop the hybrid using scenario. And for the batteries, we will have our the double storage capacity of the 200 kilowatts hour. And I think the compared with our the 100, we can provide more the selection about the protection, for example, aerosol and also some the extinguisher about that our the fire risk and the temperature cooling down. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, for some other features, for example, because for the hybrid inverters, the other important the features is that the off-grid output. Because I think most of the Southeast Asian countries that still have some of the area that may be unstable, the grid, or even the grid is always outage for in one day. So for the off-grid output or maybe some the UPS the function like about our when the grid is trip off or some the outage. Our the solutions can provide some very flexible the selection for that. For example, if in maybe Malaysia and Thailand, there the grid is very stable, so you can just order our the inverters and together with the battery, it's okay because our STI box that the STI box is using for switching from on-grid to off-grid. So our STS box is just separate from our the inverters. So if you don't need the off-grid output, just the inverter and battery is okay. That also, I think, reduce the cost of the whole system. But if maybe in some of the islands and also maybe in Myanmar and the Philippines, that is always outage of the grid and need some the switching from on-grid to off-grid or off-grid from off-grid to on-grid frequently. So the SDA box you can take ordered together with our the hybrid inverter. So I think, in other words, that flexible to be chosen by the clients or customers according to the requirements. So yeah, and basically, I think of maybe other brands will integrated the SDI box together with the inverters, so that we will not have some of the additional choice about the on-grid power line. Only need on-grid power line. So for our GoodWees, you can just tell your requirements or the needs, and we can choose some of the related the device or the equipment for your scenario, right? And also for some of the power line, for our inverters, I think we can support up to 15 units of the ET100. So that means for the biggest the power capacity, you can connect up to maybe 1.5 megawatts of the inverter, and each inverter, as I said before, you can connect up to 8 cabinets, and 15 times of the 8 cabinet, you can connect maybe the 120 of the cabinet together about the inverters. So this one mainly used for the on-grid one, but if we want to get the off-grid output, you should also using the SDS box to use for the off-grid output. For example, just like this diagram. So for the off-grid output, because we use also the separate SDS box, and the SDS box, the biggest the power output allowed is only 700. So if you want to get the off-grid output together with our hybrid one, so maybe the maximum the number is only the 6, because we should guarantee maybe no power list from the hybrid one to the SDI box, and also supply for the off-grid output is maximum is 700. So even you connect more about the 6 or maybe 7 units about the hybrid one, for the off-grid output, the biggest the power is only 700. So for on-grid one, we can connect maybe 15, but for the off-grid, maybe 700 is our maximum one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, next is our maybe I think more used in the southeast, even especially in Malaysia and also in Thailand, because they have already installed maybe some the on-grid inverters, not only in GoodWe but also some other brands. So if after maybe several years they want to add a battery, so for the on-grid inverter you cannot directly add the battery together with the on-grid inverter. So you should also use the PCS together with the battery. That the PCS means we can get the power from the AC side or from the generation of the on-grid inverter, and get power and also convert the power from AC to DC, and we are charging the battery, because the battery, the current needs the DC one, right? So for the PCS, our company's the solution is less similar like the all-in-one solution, because our PCS is integrated together with our battery. So for each cabinet, we can provide 125 kilowatts of the PCS and 261 kilowatts hour of the battery. So if we want to do some extension, the power capacity of the whole system, you can just maybe double or maybe several times of the cabinet to do some extension, right? Okay, for the cabinet, also you can see some of the features or some of the highlights about the parameters. For example, for this one, we can provide some at least some of the liquid cooling, and also the size is smaller than some of the other one. Also for some the calculation, you can see that's sorry, yeah. For the picture, and I think from the dimension and also some of the efficiency about the performance, you can just saving the price, saving the space together with some of the saving the cost about the PCS products together with the battery. Yep. Okay, this one, this diagram showed maybe the mailing scenario using for our the PCS. For example, you can just using the ESD the series together with some the on-grid one, and also as the STS box. This one is also using for the on-grid for the switching from on-grid to off-grid, just using for the off-grid output. And I think now because we cannot guarantee maybe the on-grid inverters is the same brand with maybe the PCS. So for our PCS, you can also connect maybe some other brand of the on-grid one, and we should using our own maybe the logger, and our logger will embedded our the EMS system. So using the GoodWe's EMS system, we can maybe control or do some more the management about our the PCS and also other brands of the on-grid inverters, right? Okay, for some the AC couple or the DC couple, that means if we want to choose the hybrid inverter or the PCS, that just depends on some of the projects. Because if you want to install the new projects, that is just want to connect the panels with our the inverter. So maybe the DC couple, that means the hybrid inverters is better. But if some projects have already installed the on-grid one, so for the addition about the battery, that AC coupled is the proper solution for our the proposal. So for the AC coupled that we call the PCS, that PCS together with the battery is the perfect one. Yeah. Okay, at last is our the utility one, because as I have said before, it is all the CNI. CNI maybe not only in the power capacity, but also some the AC output or the CNI level. For example, for the AC output, it is only 400 volts output, but for the utility level, that you can reach to the 800 the volts about the AC output. So for the utility level of the PCS, we can also have our the own product. But now is I think have launched in China. But I think in the second half of this year, we will after getting some of the necessary the reports, we will launch for the overseas version for that. Okay, for our the utility one, we can reach to up to 5 megawatts of the PCS together with the 10 megawatts hour of the battery. Just similar like this, the diagram about our the equipment or the PCS scenario. So for the middle one is our the PCS together with the transformer, because only 800 volts cannot support the long distance transition for the electricity, right? So we need some the transformer to boost the voltage from 800 to maybe several kilovolts about the voltage. And this battery, because 10 kilowatts hour of the battery is huge, so we also need some container to cover and to provide some the higher ingress protection level about our the battery. So just similar like this. Yeah. Okay, the third part is our the new platform. I believe that in the Kim's solution, in the Kim's introduction about our the company, they have he had said about very briefly about our the platform. So from this year, I think from the first day about this year, we have launched our the new the platform. But together with some the new interface and very friendly operation, and also some intelligent function about the AI driving. So our the new platform can provide more intelligent or some of the full the communication link together with some of our the inverters, batteries, and even some the external system about that. For example, just like the annotation, the application in mobile phone, you can see that provide very can so many kinds of the report and also the curve and also some of the pictures about the using. So not only you cannot only to search some of the flow about the energy, but also can check about the different kinds of the income and also generation and the consumption about the report. And so also you can export the curve and the report to the PC side, also some the your own disk, right? And also we have integrated some other the function. For example, we connect our the platform to the internet. So when the background just like, for example, if you're using the application in daytime, that maybe the background will be bright, but even in the raining time or maybe in the evening, so the background will be the dark mode. Just like depends on some the API port together with some the internet to get the weather and the location information about your mobile phone and also some the website about that. Yeah. Also for the language, because I think for compared with our older one, we can maybe only support some several the mailing language, for example, English, Spanish, and also others. But for our the new platform, we can support the very multi-language, for example, some the Thai and the Vietnamese and also others. So you can just when when you want to log in our the platform, you can just choose your language in advance, and all the pages on all the interface will be changed to your language you want. Yeah. Okay, here also some the pictures about from the website. So you can see our the new platform is very brief and clear about for the device and about the generation. And also for our the maybe you want to do some the remote control or the firmware upgraded and can easily to control in the website or in the application. But I think the authority is not using for the visitor end, but is meaning using in our the installer and the EPC the account. So that will be divided by maybe some the with the customer end and also the distributor or the installer end, right? Okay, here also some others the pictures about maybe some the output, sorry, the export about the report and the curve. So I think that's the full range or about of the daily life or the monthly use or the maybe yearly use. You can easily to check about the income, also the bills about the electricity compared of your consumption from the grid. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think also for the platform using is our the AI function. So now we have our own the AI agent and also the health analysis in our the platform. So you can easily to do some the chat in our together with our AI agent, and also because if you use our the battery together with our the hybrid one, we can give some the suggestion about the health, the healthy issues or some the health forecast about using, and also before you if you want to get if you faced some the alarming and some the issues about in the whole system before you connect the after sale, you can just get some of the suggestion from the AI troubleshooting the information or maybe the method about that. I think later we will also upgrade for our the more intelligent EMS the system to do more using about the control about our maybe the demand using for the peak shaving and some the smart control or some the automatic control about the maybe the C&A use and the factory use. Yes. Okay, at last is because I think in European and Australian they just care about maybe our the platform, the protection, the data protection, or maybe our the software, the certification about that. So if a customer wants to get some of the certification or some of the report about our the software using in our the platform, so we can provide maybe, for example, the IEC, the certification and the report to guarantee to prove that our platform can maybe protect the clients the data and not to spread to others, and for the each server of the overseas of the global the area, we will not spread or maybe transit the data from this server to the others. So just don't worry about maybe the protection about the data and also the software. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I think thank you for listening about the products from GoodWe, and I think because GoodWe can be provided the whole the solution, or maybe the turnkey the solution about the products, and also together with the battery. So just as the philosophy, we want to get the win-win, the method about the products and also our customer. I think if customers choose us, we can also get the customers the support and the belief. So that is the philosophy of win-win. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Zen. That was a very comprehensive and practical overview of your GoodWe products. Thank you so much for your time. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's bring this into the real world context. We are so very pleased to present a case study on proven solar success in Myanmar rice mills, the real world integration. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Brad Yang, Senior Solution Engineer, GoodWe. Mr. Yang, the screen is all yours.
Thank you, Jenna. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see that. Could you make it full screen, please?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Today's I will share our C&I energy storage application scenarios in Myanmar. This presentation showcases GoodWe's tailored C&I energy storage systems designed to solve critical power challenges for rice mills in Myanmar's big grid regions, delivering the stable power and cost saving. Yeah. Let's see the project background. You can see the pinpoints of the Myanmar rice mills. Rice mill is the backbone of Myanmar's agricultural economy, but the mills face several energy bottlenecks. Firstly, you can see Myanmar have the weak and unstable grid. Most mills operate in weak grid areas. Also, some rely entirely on off-grid generation with frequent outages and limited power availability. Secondly, high inductive load challenge. There's a lot of core equipment like polishers, sorting systems are motor-driven with 6 times rated inrush current and start up, causing voltage drops, system tripping. It's a big issue needed to solve. Thirdly, design dependency trap. High and rising design cost. There's a lot of cost about the generator maintenance and the design generator cost. Yeah, this is some issues of Myanmar rice mills factories. Wait a second. Next, let's look at the real energy needs of this Yangon rice mill. This mill operates 10 to 14 hours per day with a typical load of 100 to 120 kilowatt, but grid only supplies power for 4 to 6 hours per day. It's a huge power gap. Over 70% of its total load comes from motor-driven equipment. These high-power motors need stable, continuous power, but grid can't keep it. So that's why a reliable energy is very important. Yeah. Next up is our custom C&I energy storage system solutions for this Yangon rice mill. We have configured 3 pieces of 50 kilowatt hybrid inverters and 3 pieces 100 kilowatt hour batteries. As you can see in this diagram, the right diagram, this system connects to the grid, the mill's backup loads, and the batteries. with the EMS managing everything and linking to our SIMS Plus cloud for remote monitoring and configuration. This setup is perfectly matched to the mill's 100 to 120 kW load and makes the production running 24 hours and 7 days, also cutting the cost. We also do a comparison with previous solutions and current solutions. Before we are this factory using the diesel generator to supply the power for this rice mill. For now, they are using our battery solutions. We compare with multiple perspectives. Before, it's high diesel-based energy cost, 100% diesel dependency, and will have frequent outages and limited power availability. And after using the C&I energy storage system, it cuts energy cost by 57%, reduces the diesel dependency by 50%, and enables 24-hour and 7-day stable generation. And also for the financials, can realize a fast period payback. It's around just 2.3 years. This slide highlights GoodWe's solution for inductive load challenges. GoodWe's inverters are all optimized for inductive loads with intelligent digital control, supporting up to 80% inductive load capacity. Compared with other brand, just support 30 to 50% for the inductive load. For example, a 50 kilowatt GoodWe inverter can power a 40 kilowatt inductive, while computers only while the computer need a 100 kilowatt inverter. We outline the 4 core benefits of GoodWe's tailored C&I energy storage system solutions for the Yangon rice mill. Firstly, the production ensures 80% inductive load capacity plus 10 millisecond UPS level switching to avoid the production disruption. When this rice mill using the generator, when the grid is outage, their production always is disruption. And the reliable power supply. 1 year more than 1,200 gigawatt hour solar generation, boosting the production efficiency by 30%. And also for the cost reduction, it's 60% lower electricity cost plus 80% lower maintenance cost compared with the diesel generators. For the sustainable growth, every year more than 1,000 ton annual carbon emission cut and 10% ESG asset value increase. Yeah. Besides this solution, besides this hybrid solution, we also can provide a different solution. Like Jeffrey said, we have AC cup solution for the existing PV system to add in storage systems. And we also can supply off-grid solutions, like for the remote area and the island. We also do the microgrid solution. We can do the grid forming to supply power for the island and also to combine with the on-grid inverter. And this year, we also launched the zero brick solution with separated grid and load side. And the next is our details for these 2 solutions. This is our AC coupling solution. We can, from diagram, you can see our hybrid inverter like ED series can be AC coupling with our on-grid inverter like GT series. It can do the seamless switching and to do grid forming. For the hybrid inverter, if you buy our SDS at the same time, we can do the pure off-grid solutions. For example, if you have customer in the island of all the remote areas, there's no some electricity power, you can to do the pure off-grid solutions. We can combine with the generator and our battery and the PV no need electricity power income. Third, the microgrid solution. Microgrid solution, we can do the grid forming. Like I said, we can combine with our on-grid inverter, and also we are developing combine with third-party inverters like Sungrow and Huawei. Also can combine with the generator for unstable grid needing multi energy integration like PV storage design. It enables seamless grid and off-grid switching to keep critical loads running no stop. This is our laser brick solutions we just launched this year. This system separates the load side and the grid side. The load side ET100 inverters running pure off-grid mode, powering load no stop. Even the grid side inverters, it connects with the grid and also can combine with on-grid inverter. Even on the grid side, the grid is outage, and the load side will no effect by the grid side. So we call it zero brick because there's no switching time of this system. When grid is outage, there's no switching for the load side. So we call it zero brick solutions. It supports parallel options of the 2 to 10 ET100 units, multiple battery clusters, and the direct PV connections. This delivers 100% uninterrupted power, eliminating outage and keeping factory running 24 hours and 7 days, no matter what happens with the grid. So we call it zero brick solution. Yeah, thank you again for your time. I hope this give you a clear picture of GoodWe's Colloq solutions. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Mr. Yang, for sharing those powerful real-world insights. It's always inspiring to see how these solutions translate into actual business impact. Thank you once again for your time. And now we move into what I'm sure will be highly engaging part of today's session, our panel discussion. Mr. Yang, you can stop sharing your screen, please. Thank you so much. Our panel discussion topic is from solar to 24/7 power, making storage work for C&I in Southeast Asia. As businesses across the region look to balance cost, reliability, and sustainability, energy storage is becoming a critical piece of this puzzle. And introducing all that is our esteemed panelists today. So I'll have the pleasure of introducing them. We have Mr. Charit Konda, Energy Specialist, IEEFA, Mr. Dang and Pham, VP Carbon and Deputy Director, Yufeng Energy Group, Mr. Miloslav Diakovic, Senior Associate Director, Clean Tech Solar, Mr. Jeffrey Zinn, Senior Solution Engineer, GoodWe, Mr. Hui Fanxuan, Technical Director, SP Group. And moderating the session, we have Dr. Alan Wang, Head of Asia Pacific Power and Renewable Research from Wood Mackenzie. Just a quick update, ladies and gentlemen, I would request our audience to kindly put their questions in the chat box, and they would be addressed by our panelists at the end of the panel. Now, may I request all the panelists to kindly turn on their cameras and join us on the virtual stage. Mr. Wang, the panel is all yours.
Thank
you so much, Ms. Gita.
Thank you. Okay, first of all, welcome all our speakers on the panel list. And as we went through all the background introductions and a very impressive product introduction by Jeffrey and also the case study by Brad, today our panel discussion topic is making storage work for CNI in the ASEAN markets, right? And as we already touched base a little bit in the knowledge sharing, we have seen some trend, the whole market moving from solar standalone to solar plus battery among the CNI sector in Southeast Asia. So one of the questions I keep thinking when I do research with the team is what's the driver? What is driving this kind of a transition we have seen on the market? And today I'm very happy we invite our panel speakers from every single different background sitting together to discuss of this very exciting topic. So first of all, I would like to invite probably Karis. Can you please comment on from your angle? I know you also do a lot of market research on policy and also the market itself. In your point of view, what's the driver you have seen to drive this kind of a moving from standalone to battery plus solar?
You called my name?
Yes.
Yeah,
Please.
okay. Just making sure before I stop. Yeah, thank you for having me here, and thank you for the question, Dr. Wang. There are a few reasons why C&I consumers are planning to move towards a hybrid system, like solar plus energy storage, which is primarily battery energy storage. And this comes from the fact that the grid electricity prices have been moving up for both commercial and industrial consumers is largely driven by underlying economic factors like cross-subsidization, where distribution utilities or state governments or provincial governments kind of subsidize the residential and agricultural consumers, and that gets translated into higher tariffs for commercial and industrial consumers. And this in fact coupled with time of use tariffs that are being implemented more and more as we see. So this time of use tariffs kind of, if you take the case of India, they are quite high when it comes to the evening peaks, 6 to 10 p.m. And when you have industries which are running 24/7, take textiles, hospitality, healthcare, and all this kind of establishments which have to run 24/7, these time of use tariffs can quickly add up to the costs of their electricity. So these are one of the reasons, some of the reasons that they are moving towards a hybrid system. And also for the backup generator sets, diesel gen sets that we do have, diesel prices, as you are seeing, are also increasing, and there are supply shocks in the market globally. So this all is accelerating the move towards storage. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for sharing. And I'm clearly can see, thanks for comment from the local market Indian angle. And today we also have Mr. Dang presenting, some of the local information in Vietnam. Do you want to share what you have seen is the driver over there driving this kind of system integration?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Wang, for your question. So I think from our perspective, at Bufong Energy Group, the shift is happening because the CNI customer is the Southeast Asia are no longer looking at solar as just a way to save daytime electricity costs. They are looking for more complete energy solution, and I think this is the four main drivers. The first, energy resilience. Because in many asset markets, and certainly in Vietnam, business care not only about the price, but also the power quality and operational stability. So as a renewable penetration grows, system flexibility becomes more important. So the storage help us customer manage that better. So the second, I think, this is the maximizing share consumption and then system value. Standalone solar creates the most value when the sun is shining and the load match the generation. But many factories need power beyond solar hours or want to reduce the peak demand and optimize energy used more actively. So storage help us. And the third, I think this is the decarbonization pressure. Because now the export manufacturer are under the pressure of ESG and supply chain. So they want more renewable electricity and more credible and measurable way. So I think this is the third. And the fourth is the economics are improving. Battery costs, they have fallen sharply, you see. And I think in 2025, with best seeing some the strongest decline. That does not mean every project is auto bankable, but it means solar plus storage is becoming much more realistic than it was a few years ago. So I think this is the four main driver for the shifting from standalone solar to solar and storage for CNI consumer. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the sharing, and that's a great summary. Four drivers you summarized together. I think probably I want to hear more from Miro. I know at Cleantech Solar you have more like a wider country coverage and a footprint, right? So probably from your angle, any other markets, what other drivers you have seen or identified?
Yeah, like my colleagues at the panel mentioned, right? There's the decarbonization mandates, so multinational, but as well the local companies in specific market committed to certain percentage of decarbonization, like RE100, 100%. And we've seen the request by them to explore storage, right, during beyond the sun hours for the evening. Also, we have seen the new regulation, for example, in Malaysia, where the all installation, solar rooftop installation, 1+ megawatt, they must as well have a storage component, right? So this is one of the, this is mandatory. You cannot avoid it. And, beside decarbonization and the regulatory, it's interesting for some countries like Indonesia, like off-peak peak hours, which was already mentioned, right? So like peak hours is like 6 to 10, and is 50% price per kilowatt hour higher than off-peak hours, right? So adding more solar, charging batteries, and discharging during this peak hour could save money for CNI clients, right? This is some of what we have seen in the region as well. Or we do have in India large scale virtual PPAs, open access, right, with the batteries. This is one of the things to smoothen the grid, right? So this is the examples we've seen in Southeast Asia and India. Some of.
Okay, thank you, Miro. Probably I just have a follow-up question. You did mention some mandate in the Malaysian market, right? But also we consider about the payback and the cost versus the cost, right? Have you seen this already make sure there's a successful business case in majority of those markets?
This is relatively new. Everybody's just starting. With current price of the BESS, we did explore, in a different. We already did long time ago some pilot projects in Singapore, right? So if the price of electricity is relatively high, like Philippines, Singapore, then certainly makes sense. But even now, like for Indonesia, where it's relatively low, it's already making sense in some cases. In Malaysia, we need to adjust maybe the returns for commercial returns for clients will not be so attractive because most of these projects will be financed by developers, right? So where very few companies invest by themselves in solar and BESS. Still some, but very few, right? So the commercial returns will not be the same, right? We cannot offer. If the main goal is decarbonization, and we do have some companies who just say, well, yeah, savings are good. If you can offer us better tariff than the grid, it's great. But number one priority is decarbonization. We would like to have, be carbon neutral, right? So it's not always that the commercials will have to be attractive. But yes, of course, if your commercial offer is the best, you're gonna win every tender.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. And the same question, and still on this cost versus value and the business case question. Mr. Hui, I saw you online, and do you have any input on this? And have you seen this kind of like a bankable and a successful business case for this kind of projects?
Thank you, Mr. Alan, for the question. So I think for now, I think for a bankable, I think it's can because for the battery price, nearly is reduced significantly for a few years compared with the few years ago. And the second, the electricity price from some country also increased as well. So it's make it, the financial model is work. Yeah.
I see. Thank you.
Yeah.
And probably again, Charis, do you have any comment add on to this?
Yeah. So I think costs are still high for some business applications. We are seeing a drastic reduction in solar plus battery storage projects at grid scale, and they are like half the grid electricity prices in India. But for many businesses, it's about scale, and when these are medium and small enterprises, economics are still expensive when it comes to storage. And another important thing is when we're talking about Malaysia, India doesn't have subsidies or any kind of incentive mechanism for CNI consumers to include storage yet. So that's we are subsidizing grid scale storage, but not CNI storage. So these two kind of make it still a difficult proposition.
I see. Thank you. Yeah, I think we discussed about this cost versus value about the system. Now probably we can deep dive a little bit onto the technology side. And because we have Jeffrey on the panel, Jeffrey share very detailed design and product of GoodWe. So the question is, Jeffrey, from your angle, what do you think will be the biggest challenge in designing and deploying the solar plus storage system for CNI clients?
Okay, thank you, Eileen. I think maybe the biggest challenges in design, also the development the solar plus storage system for CNI, maybe including so many the experts. I think maybe, for example, like economic viability and also regular handles, also the marketing and also the cost. But yeah, as you know, I'm just the solution engineer. So maybe for the technology, I think I could give more the points about that. For example, as I had said in our slides before, maybe some of the technical integration complexity is more important because I think integrating every energy storage with existing the solar PV system maybe the present the significant technology challenges because these including ensuring compatibility between maybe the battery inverters and also other balance of the system components as well as maybe managing the third party one. Yeah. Okay. I think advanced energy management system, maybe we call the EMS system as very necessary to optimize the charging and discharging of the storage system in conjunction with the solar generation and the facility load partners. So furthermore, I think proper thermal management and also the battery management system and also oversight and all maybe to the adherence to grid interconnection standard are maybe crucial for the safety and also operational reliability. So maybe careful system design, including the energy flow, maybe modeling and selecting the proper coupling strategy. Yeah, DC coupled is essential to maybe maximum enable energy and maybe protect the long term using for that. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. I can see, your angle is mainly from the product side, even consider integrate with third party, right? And we're lucky we have Mr. Dong here. I think probably you can share maybe a case study or what have you seen the challenge when you implement that kind of system in the real project. You on mute, Mr. Dong.
Excuse me. Can you repeat your question? Sorry, a little large.
No problem.
So
Yeah.
you asked about the biggest challenge for deploy storage, solar and storage, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Yeah, from what I see in Vietnam, the biggest challenge is not simply adding a battery to a solar system. The real challenge is about the designing, because we must design the right solution fit to the customer. Every factory has a different load profile, of operating schedule, and business priority. Someone they to reduce the peak demand, someone to maximize shell consumption, and some care more about the backup support or power stability. So the first challenge, I think, is really about the choosing the right use case. If the use case is wrong, even a good system may not deliver expect financial values. The second is because the second challenge is the system integration. In C&I project, solar, battery, inverter, EMS, and factory loads all need to work together smoothly. So this requires strong engineering, good control logic, and proper the commissioning. And the third, I think, the safety and the long-term confidence. A customer does not just ask whether the system can work, they ask whether it can work safely, reliable, and consistently over many years. So I think this is why technology quality matter, and it is also where we trust is branch, such as GoodWe, such as SoPlanet, such as some big brand can play a helpful role by offering products that are designed to be reliable, user-friendly, and easier for EPC team to integrate and operate. And essential, I think the standard 10 years warranty like SoPlanet is a good case. So overall, the key challenge, I think this is not only a technology, this is how to turn a technology into a safe, a well-integrated, and commercially meaningful solution for the customer. I think this is the biggest challenge. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. I think you mentioned a very important key point is that different industry clients, they have different load profiles, right? And Mr. Hui, I know you have a very strong technical background at the SP Group. And from your angle, what do you think, how can we optimize the solar plus storage system to deliver a very reliable solution for the C&I clients?
Yeah, so I think for the design, I think for sizing and design the system to adapt with any customer is the challenge. But the much challenge is the EMS system. So I think it's very hard to have one EMS system to control a lot of source. From the example, like we have the solar, we have the wind, we have the battery, we have the generator. So the EMS need to integrate all of them into one system of the factory. So make it work and make it optimized. So it is very challenging for the integrated solution.
I see.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I'd like to back to you, Miro. From your angle, I mean, to serve different load profiles, different client segments, what do you think will be the key to optimize the system design?
Yes, correct, right? So we do see some factories which have high curtailment, right?
Yeah.
And especially, the footwear industry, car assembly. So we see, lunch breaks, there is a zero load almost, right? And weekends, mostly not operating. So we can see that in these cases, we can add storage to solar. And, the lunch break is usually when it's peak hour. So you, when it's peak hour, literally the load goes to zero from, let's say, 5 megawatt, can be 10 megawatt even. So this is the opportunity where we can add solar and we have reduced curtailment, right? So as mentioned, some factories are operating 24/7, some factories are off on the weekend, some factory has reduced load on the weekend. Some factories having when you optimize, you have still 5, 6, 10% curtailment. So you can actually even like every day, right? So you can just add batteries, storage, and you will get more, to deploy during the night, and especially during the peak hour, which would commercially improve your financials. So yes, we did have cases where the commercials are not so good because of the high curtailment, right? Adding solar, especially now when the price reduced significantly, and hopefully it will reduce more. It would make sense for developers. It will make sense for factories, for clients. If I may, I remember when there was a report from Bloomberg New Energy Finance 2018, 2019. So their prediction at the Southeast Asia or Indonesia, the battery storage became kind of mainstream by 2028, 2029, right? Between that to 2031. So we are close to that. Maybe we are not already there and become, for every factory in Southeast Asia or Indonesia, but we are coming close to that. And let me answer to your question which you wrote, right? So yes, for sure, there is a impact. There is a drawback, right? The commercials are not so good as before, and we can feel that, we can see that, especially with some existing clients. So yes.
Okay, thank you. We're actually entering the second half of our panel discussion. Again, I want to ask all our audience, feel free to submit your questions. Later on, by the end of the session, we're going to try to address all your questions. Feel free to put in the chat window or put into the Q&A box. Feel free. Okay, now we switch the topic a little bit because I'm glad, Miro, you mentioned about the mainstream. So actually, in my first slide, you can see we try to highlight the new policies versus the old ones. We have the policy change in 2025, 2026. So that comes to a question is, do we see those policies are accelerating or trying to make some enablement for our CNI sector or probably negatively impact or slowing down this kind of a deployment? So I think that's probably a policy angle question. Maybe I need help from Charis. Do you want to comment on this? And from the recent policies, what do you feel?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So I think policies and regulations both play a very important role when it comes to newer technologies. And I think globally, every government, every regulator is still learning how to integrate storage in, and that adds value to the entire system. So if you take the example of India, a lot of policies, regulations have been developed in the last 2-3 years for grid scale solar plus battery storage. For the CNI consumers, what we call open access here, with group captive kind of based models, the policies are still evolving on how to integrate storage. So definitely there are systemic challenges that are related to the distribution infrastructure, which when it comes to net metering grid interactive systems, they act as bottleneck in terms of how much solar or battery storage could feed back into the grid during excess generation. So that policy is still evolving, and there are issues surrounding net metering connections, delays in permits and approvals, and a lack of adequate supporting distribution infrastructure, whether it comes to the transformer capacity or otherwise. So these are the major challenges, and adding on to that is, as I mentioned earlier, there is no direct subsidy for CNI battery energy storage projects, whether it is behind the meter or whether it is grid interactive system. So those subsidies are missing. Only all the action is happening at the grid scale. Yeah.
I see. Thank you. Yeah, I think the net metering constraint or the policy change is quite a signpost in quite a few countries. Mr. Hui, I think, as I mentioned earlier, the policy change in Vietnam is the same, right? We're trying to limit the power can be flow back to the system. So that linked to the same questions. Do you see this kind of a policy is actually creating some barriers for the CNI sector implementation, or you probably feel like they want to like battery to be add-on, right, to solve this issue? Could be positive.
Yeah, so I think for in Vietnam now, because the electricity cannot import to the grid, so it don't have any regulation, any policy to ban us to stop us to into the storage system, but have some regulation related to the construction regulation or some other affect to the storage system and the firefighting. So for firefighting and construction, they are mentioned around the capacity limitation. So if you install around more than 3 megawatt or more than 1 megawatt, you need to get the example like if you you use the battery storage to sell the electricity to customer, so you need to get the operation license of the electricity and to sell the electricity, and also the construction law, you need to get the permit for the construction permit, and also the construction level 3, you need to get to have a license before you need the before, meaning that you have to have expertise to do. So I think for the policy is quite important. It's the key to open. So for small capacity in Vietnam now, I saw that have a lot of investors. They did already. Example like some commercial center, some because they are using they are buying the electricity price very high. So it makes sense in the commercial, meaning that the for the financial model is work. So they invest because no regulation ban them. So they did already, but for the big for the big capacity, I think need to have the policy, need to have the regulation to define before the it's still a barrier for the sorry, for big size.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, because for today's panel, we don't have any speakers coming from the policymaker or regulation angle, but we do see there's a gap in terms of regulation and permitting all these. But back to our own role is we come from different angle, solution providers and developers in different regions. So I guess the next question is to accelerate or to improve the integration of the CNI storage. What role can we play in this kind of moving forward or in this transition period? So first of all, probably Jeffrey, because you representing the technology provider side, and I bet you know a lot about GoodWe's future product line, what you're investing your money in R&D, right? Can you share a little bit more, like what do you plan to do for this?
I think thank you, Alan. Because I think for the previous some of the cooperation, maybe together EPC and the developer, we all have a cooperation or maybe some discussion with that. I think as the technical provider, for us, I think basically we must provide some very stable and very the proper proposal or the solution about our the how to see the whole system, or maybe some according to the requirements for our the products and maybe some of the scenario, right? So I think also together with EPC, we should support this to offer very the clear guiding and training, and also reboost some of the on-board the progress, and especially for the early adopter who valued stability and the support for that. But I think maybe for these three roles are not very independently, because I think they all are maybe together or maybe involved with some some of the technology. So I think we three are all the maybe instrumental in some of the showcasing the maybe the tangible benefits of the new technology. So we should achieve that this by offering some clear the roadmaps and realistic the timelines and also some of the ongoing support. So yeah, I'm not because for the technology provider we are not only provide the device or maybe equipment. So we should to provide more teamwork and more maybe some of the service and after installation and maybe some of the intelligence about the function and the platform about that. I think so, right?
Okay, thank you. Let's see what's the voice of customer, right? Mr. Dang, you probably on the front line to deploy those kind of systems. What do you think? What kind of role developers should play? Or maybe you can also put a request to Jeffrey, like I want to see that kind of new product, right?
Yes, I totally agree with Mr. Jeffrey from the Vietnam market. The thing is very clear. Adoption of package moves faster when the customer see one's reliable solution ecosystem, not the separate proxy working in the isolation. Technology provider like GoodWe play the first role. They need to deliver product are reliable, easy to integrate, easy to monitor, and customer today not only look at the equipment specification, they also care about transparency, usable, and after-sales support. In that sense, technology brand like SoPlanet help by making the solution more practical and easier for both EPC and end user to manage in Vietnam now. And the second, the EPC play the second role. They are bridge between the product and real performance. Good EPCs do not just install equipment. They design properly, interact, commission, support the customer after COD. And from our view, this is one of the biggest factor in building trust in the CNI market. Yeah, as you see, Vũ Phong start in the CNI solar market since 2009, yeah, in Vietnam. And the first, a developer and investor play the third role. They have removed the commercial barrier, especially the upfront capex concerns. Yes, the capex for the solar system and BESS is the very big. Yes, by offering more model as the solar as a service or zero capex or flexible structure, I think they will have customer move from interest to the action much faster. So I think I would say the market grows faster when these three groups work together. Yeah, technology provider like GoodWe, like SoPlanet bring confidence in the products. EPC like Vũ Phong brings confidence in the execution, and developers bring the confidence in the business model. When all three come together, the customer feel much more comfortable and confidence to making the decision. Yes, this is from my view in Vietnam.
Thank you. I think by the end, we're running to the very end of the panel discussion. The last question could be a little bit forward-looking. So let's consider about the next 3 to 5 years. What do you think, or what should be the key to scale up the solar plus storage on the CNI sector? Probably, Miro, do you want to share a little bit more on this, on your view, like a little bit forward-looking for next 3 years?
Yeah, well, we do hope that price will significantly reduce, right? So this will be one of the key drivers. Increased price of utility tariffs for sure will be a driver. Many of multinationals, they committed to be 100% powered by renewables by 2030 or 2035, right? So access to renewables in many countries besides on-site solar, it's not so possible, right? We cannot really, unless we have a power wheeling available. So this open access in India, yes, is possible. There is something currently in Malaysia, they're in works in Thailand, but right, so currently still in most of the Southeast Asian country, it's to have 100% access to renewables would be solar and BESS. So this will be one of the major drivers, right? Especially with the price of storage going significantly down. We can see that in Indonesia, we can already have certain brands around $100 USD per kilowatt hour, right? But we need to as well select the right technology, right partner, reliable. It's still relatively new, right? So maybe some clients will, ask questions about fire possibility, etc. Even for the solar, we do receive the questions: what if they get fire? So we need to show reliability of the technology, and luckily we the regional company, so we can have we have cases from other countries where we already have a certain projects which include solar, and where we do not have, so we can showcase. So this is some of the cases where I see it, right? So by 2030 we could have significant capacity installed already in terms of the BESS, right? And there is one thing we didn't mention. It's not CNI, but it's off grid, right? For some certain countries, which is mining, which we mentioned runs on diesel, right? So it's not utility, it's not CNI, but it's still in a way it's kind of private sector, where reducing exposure to diesel and reducing costs for the mining companies can be huge in countries like Indonesia. And we already seen some of the projects are happening, which are hundreds of megawatts of PV and hundreds of megawatt hours of battery storage.
I see. Thank you. Thanks for sharing of that. I think you did mention a key thing is that we do see more and more policies. I think, Charis, you mentioned that again, right, earlier. We start to see more new regulations and new policies coming up. So, Charis, from your research, from your angle, next 3 to 5 years, like say up to 2030, what we will see, or what kind of a change we would expect in this area?
Yeah, I think one encouraging sign is that plain vanilla solar or wind projects are not happening anymore. Storage as a component has become of primary importance for the grid planners or the overall power system planners or even the procurers. So in the next 3-5 years, we see storage getting integrated more. However, what should happen in the next few years to accelerate this deployment is, as Miro said, the reduction in prices definitely, but it need not be just core battery, but the overall system integration cost should come down. And we need favorable grid interactive policies when we are talking from the CNI perspective. And even at group captive projects as well, we need supporting policies for CNI and incentives for them to integrate storage. And the third thing being enforcement of climate mandates, whether it is ESG mandates, emission reductions. India is coming up with a new carbon trading scheme. So that's as well a driver. And even Europe, when they are enforcing the CBAM trade regulations, that's also a major driver for an industrial complex like steel manufacturing. And overall, I think other business innovations should also happen in the context that, as I said, scale matters a lot. So can we aggregate demand at an industrial cluster level and provide solar and storage as a solution that could probably bring the economies of scale and bring down the costs as well. And when we talk to lenders, the last thing is, when we talk to lenders, one of the primary concerns is what will be the battery performance and what will be the degradation factors, what will be the residual value of a battery after, say, 8 to 12 years of use. So how can OEMs, the original equipment manufacturers, can guarantee or provide warranties on the batteries, and their lifetime will also help the system to build confidence. So these are some of the points that I would say will shape the battery industry for the next 3 to 5 years.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I mean, for the sake of time, I think we probably enter the Q&A now. And again, for the forward-looking topic, I was quite exciting when I see Jeffrey showing their AI agent story, right? And we do receive quite a few inquiries in the Q&A, like asking for your slides because people go exciting when they see that. I will leave to our event organizer to address that question. And then we do have some other market or project related question in there. Let me take a look and get some help from our panelists to check. So first of all, Mira, I think that's one of your topic you mentioned during the session about Malaysia, right? So there's a question about Malaysia policy, the 1 megawatt mandate to include battery integration. So there is a standby charge imposed for those kind of a project. And then this will increase the project OPEX. That will be a higher cost. So what do you think, or does this impose a drawback in the Malaysian market for CNI?
Yes, that for sure, right? As already like mentioned before. So there has a definitely impact on commercials, on returns, on investment. So we already seen this, right? But still, this will not prevent. Maybe it's gonna slow down slightly, but it's not gonna prevent further development of solar PV, CNI, and storage.
Yeah. Okay.
And
And
we need to adjust to regulations, right? That there is sometimes regulations are not favorable, right? We have that in Indonesia. We've seen regulation changes. We do have a 1 year good or 2 year good, 2 year bad, 2 year good, right? So it's more like in waves. Currently, we're seeing like Indonesia, we are coming, second good year. I'm a bit worried, we haven't had so much. The regulations are developing in a certain way. Maybe in the more developed market, one Malaysia, they're not so good as they used to be. They're trying to, more to have a controlled market. And some countries where the solar is not so developed, like Indonesia, we can see the regulation will be improving until we come to the point like something was in Europe, right? We had very favorable regulation, then gigawatts were installed, and then the regulation changed. So slowly in some countries it's happening as well in Southeast Asia.
Great, thank you.
Adjust, right?
Yeah, great, thank you. And there's another question. I think it probably Charis, you'll be the best person to address that because it's more like how to model the battery revenue. I know this is a complex question because there's so many ways to monetize, and especially you can use it to do many things: price arbitrage, peak shaving, backup, whatever. Not asking for your exact financial model, but from your experience, when you do research, when you look into this kind of question, what kind of assumptions or what kind of strategy when you do this kind of modeling?
So yeah, when we model, we are not exactly taking the revenue stacking as one of the revenue streams in BESS models as of now. What we are seeing at grid scale battery deployment is very defined bidding guidelines in terms of how do you use that battery, whether it is for 2 hours or 2 cycles in a day, or is it 4 hours, 1 cycle a day, kind of a thing. And even regulations when it comes to India, the primary reserve ancillary services is not yet open for battery projects, where they're more suitable in terms of fast frequency response kind of a service that they could provide to the grid. If they're only called upon at the tertiary level, and even at the secondary level, coal and gas tend to be called on the system level. So whoever is modeling as of now are just not considering the revenue stacking for multiple services. So they may be taking a peak shaving or energy arbitrage as one of the revenues, but not the entire gamut of services it could provide.
I see. And do you consider the depreciation of the battery?
I'm sorry, I didn't get you.
When you do this kind of calculation, do you consider the battery itself the depreciation?
Yeah, we do that. We take around. I mean, even the bidding guidelines or some guidelines specify about 2.5% degradation for the battery.
I see. All right. Thank you very much for all our speakers today. Thanks for sharing. I think it's very insightful sharing for today's session. We touch base all the angles from policy regulation, project development, down the way to the solution and product. And now, again, thank you very much. And also thank you for all the audience. I'll hand over back to our chairman. Gita, over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wang, for expertly moderating that very, very insightful discussions indeed. And a big thank you to all our panelists for sharing such practical, forward-looking perspectives on enabling a very reliable, round-the-clock energy in Southeast Asia. As a wrap-up, we now, for today's discussion, reinforces one key message. So the shift from standalone solar to reliable, round-the-clock energy with storage is no longer optimal and optional, but essential. On behalf of the team, I would like to sincerely thank GoodWe, our esteemed speakers, and all of you for being a part of this very important conversation. And we hope today's insights help you move forward with greater clarity, confidence, and direction in your energy transition journey. Thank you once again for being a part of this journey with us. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.